finally, I'd like to show you a method for doing sort of a Keith Haring style artwork, which remember he did the real simplified characters and symbols of things. So I'm going to simplify this shoe down to its most basic shapes. The easiest way to do that is to first make it black and white. You could use either threshold, or you could use one of the filters that we used in the filter gallery a moment ago. I'm going to make sure I have black and white here. And then I'm going to go up to filter gallery. And I'm going to select stamp for this one, and I'm going to, you want to kind of slide this around. You want a balance of smoothness, but you also want to be able to see the details of the object just enough to recognize it. I'm going to just smooth it out a little bit more, and I'll show you another method for smoothing it too. I'm going to hit OK, so it's very simplified. So now what I can do is I can actually use my magic wand, and I want to make sure I uncheck the word contiguous. Contiguous means that the pixels have to be touching in order to be selected, but in this case I wanted to select every black pixel that I click on. So I'm going to click on the black part right here, and I'm going to make a brand new layer. That's going to be where my outline is going to be. And then before I decide to add an outline to this, I'm actually going to go up to the select menu, and I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to do a smooth. So I'm going to smooth this out. You have to kind of play with this to see what it looks like. It's hard to tell what happened. Let's try it out now. So what I'm going to do is temporarily hide my shoe black and white, and also hide my green one here. So now you can just see the outlines. And I'm going to go up to the edit menu, and I'm going to stroke the outline. And right now I have black, and I have 8 pixels. That's pretty good. So now you can see what I have here, Command D to deselect. Well, I'm missing part of the shoe, so I'm going to get the other piece now. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to select the white pixels this time. And I'm going to go up to the select menu, modify, and smooth. I'm going to do 10 pixels again. And I'm going to go back to layer 2 here, hide this one, edit, stroke or outline your selection, and then I'm going to hit OK. Command D to deselect. And now it's pretty simplified. It's down to its most basic. I could also go in and maybe erase even some of the details if I wanted to keep this super simple, kind of a la Keith Haring. So now it comes down to really simply just, I could even use my paint bucket to fill this shoe. I could go in and get a nice bright color, maybe some pink, hot pink, and I can go in and click, and I can actually paint inside of the shoe. This is very Keith Haring right here. And maybe I'll get a different color for the other part, so maybe a hot pink and a hot green maybe? Let's try that. It's kind of like ice cream shop. I'm going to do that. I can fill in these different gaps with my paint bucket. Maybe here and here. So see how it's very simplified now. You can almost not recognize it as a shoe. It's barely recognizable as a shoe. If any of these little pieces are bothering you, you can always go in and just paint with your paintbrush the pieces that are bothering you. I'm going to use my option key to sample the pink, and then I'm going to use my paintbrush and just kind of paint over those little chunks that are still there. Just a few little dots here and there that are bothering me. And that is sort of Keith Haring style. He also did a lot of patterns. So now I could go in with my magic wand, and I could select the green again. This time I'm going to make another new layer. And this one, so the bottom layer is my simplified shoe, right? And then this one's going to be my pattern. You could do this a number of ways. You could do the technique that use the technique I showed you before, where you could go up to edit and you could fill the selection and you could select a pattern of some sort. I'm going to get something, remember how you could choose from the library, so I'm going to look through here and see if there's something else that I want. There's some interesting patterns in here. He kept his patterns really simple, so I don't want to do anything too complex. I might even just take my paintbrush, get a nice round brush, and I'm going to go make my brush bigger by doing the bracket key. And I'm now going to pick the pink dots, and I'm just going to click. And I can start adding pattern that way. I feel like my dot's too big now. So I could also just paint it in by hand. So this is another method, and then I could start adding in. So you can see you can add it that way too. I can also go back to this fill selection and select some sort of custom pattern. I want to look through something that's kind of simple. Texture fill, let's see what we've got here, something like this maybe, and hit OK. Now, as you can see, it has covered up the green, which is kind of a bummer. I didn't really want that. But thankfully, because I put it on its own layer, I can now go up to normal and I can say multiply. And now I've got a texture there and I can still see the green through it. So that's one other method to do that. Additionally, I can go back up to my filter gallery and play around with that. Oh, it's saying that the pixels are empty, so it can't do anything. So I'm going to go back up to filter gallery, making sure I've clicked on a layer that has some content. And it's going to show me now different things that I can do. So there is that halftone pattern that we did before. This is more blurry looking, but you could definitely do this if you wanted to play around with it. I'm turning the contrast way up. Ah, see, when I turn the contrast up, then I'm getting that real sort of Keith Haring look to it. So I'm going to hit OK to do that. And then what I'm going to do is go back and get my green that I had, and then I'm going to just use my click on my white pixels here and just fill those in with my paint bucket. So you can see how I have this pattern here. It's very cool. So again, that's kind of a Keith Haring style that you can play around with.